Hello everyone and welcome back to my Japanese-inspired world. We recently transformed the end island into a beautiful koi pond with a lotus flower as our return portal, and today we're transforming the stronghold room and finding all 3 frog variants for them to live in our stronghold room. If you're excited for today's project and adventures, make sure to leave a like and check if you're subscribed. Now, we recently moved all of our storage from inside our starter house here into our actual storage room, and I asked you guys what we should do with this space here now, and the suggestion I got the most was actually making a bird room for our little parrot friend Sora and our other little friend Arashi, and so we're going to do just that. So let's get some blocks and start decorating their new little room, shall we? All right, and here is our little new bird room. I did change it since the time lapse because I realized having too much of the scaffolding against the bamboo trapdoors, you could barely see what was happening. So I wanted to use some dark oak because that's what we're already using and it just adds some contrast. But this is super cute. I really like this. We've just got a few different little nests they can hang out in. Sora is in this one, and then Arashi is just on this little hanging cage on the side here. And I made them a little bitty bird bath so that they can kind of play in the water when they want to. And of course, we've got some seeds on the ground if they want some snacks. Maybe what really happened is they already had their snacks and they just, had little pieces of it fall on the ground. And now that we have Sora and Arashi's little bird room done, it is time to move on to getting resources to go transform our stronghold room. Now, as far as resources, we're gonna grab some shulker boxes to start filling everything that we're going to need. Now, for some of this, we're going to make some black concrete powder, so we're going to take a bunch of sand for that, add this into our chest. We need the ink sacs for the black dye. I'm going to need a lot of just regular glass, so we're going to be kind of coming back and forth and smelting a bunch of that up, so I'm just going to stay on top of getting our glass smelted up. We're going to need a bunch of slime balls because we're going to breed up some of the frogs and bring them into our stronghold room, so I'm going to grab a bunch of buckets and slime. We're also going to need to collect a bunch of mud for the floor of the stronghold room. We found our first frog, so now we just need to find a second one. So I'm hopefully gonna just find one pretty nearby to this one so that we can start breeding them up and get our little 3 frog types. And once we found the second white frog, we bred them up and then they laid their little frog eggs. We then waited for them to hatch to tadpoles to collect them all up to move them to the different biomes to get ourselves the orange frogs and last but not least, the green frogs. Next, we're going to collect a bunch of terracotta up. We're also grabbing a ton of gravel so that we can make some black concrete powder. Next, we also need to get some additional squid ink, so we're just gonna spend some time bopping some of these guys. I am sorry, guys. I do apologize. Next, we're coming down to our skelly farm because I want to collect a bunch of bone blocks because we're going to turn all of this bone blocks into bone meal because I want a bunch of white dye because we're going to actually change this terracotta into the classic white terracotta and use that for what is going to go around the end portal structure. Next, we're going to be taking our ink sacs, a bunch of our gravel and sand, and we're going to be making a bunch of black concrete powder. Then it is time to do the classic pillar up really far with all of our concrete and use this water bucket in my inventory to then turn it into black concrete from the concrete powder. All right, now that we've slept and no longer have to deal with that trident boy, I can kind of show off all the things that we've collected thus far. We've got all of our black concrete we were just cleaning up. We've got our white terracotta. We've got a bunch of moss and some glowberries, sea pickles, big drip leaves, some vines, some lanterns, some flower pots. We've got a bunch of extra gravel and buckets, and I have been working to collect up a bunch of glass that we'll need for the project, and of course, we've got our mud. The last thing we need to do is collect some of the more decorative blocks and resources, so I'm just going to take a shulker box and we're just going to grab some different resources we'll need for decorations. All right, we've got everything we need. Now let's go over to the stronghold. And we are here. So we're gonna set our spawn here since we'll be here for a bit. But what we're going to do is start clearing out this room. We're going to make kind of like a circular dome shape. If you remember from my 119 series, where we made a giant stump in the middle, the room itself was kind of like a circular dome type of a room with a very high vaulted ceiling, and that's the same kind of idea that I'm going to have, except this is going to be much larger of a room, much wider, because right where this little portal is, I want to give us another lotus flower, except we're gonna have this one be that white terracotta because it kind of is more of like a pinkish hue, which I think would be perfect for a lotus flower on this side of the portal. So let's get building, shall we? And just like that, we've got our entire room cleared out. This is giant. If I turn on some night vision, you can see just how tall this room is. Now, picture in the middle here, right where the center is, this is where we're going to be placing our giant lotus flower in the middle. And then we're going to fill this in around the lotus flower, filling the bottom in with this mud, which I've started but ran out of blocks for. But then we're going to cover this in mud, small drip leaf, large drip leaf. We're going to add different frogs in here and just kind of make it similar to the koi pond that we have on the end side of things. But I want to add some more end rods and stained glass panes into this ceiling to kind of make it look more floating and magical. We'll have spore blossoms, our frogs will be in here, and it's gonna be really cool. So we're gonna go back home, grab some mud for finishing this out, and then finish the build by starting on the lotus flower. just like that, we've got our 6 frogs safely inside their koi pond stronghold room. And now they can officially just kind of frolic around and have a good old time. And I'm just gonna push you in there, my friends. There we go. Enjoy your time. Perfect. Look at him go. And there's little spots along the entire edge where they're able to just kind of hang out and not get tired. But on that note, with the frogs safely here, that is all the time I have for today's episode. We built the most beautiful stronghold portal. I absolutely love how this turned out. The overgrown vibes with the lotus, koi pond vibes. We've got little frogs jumping around, axolotls swimming around, and they're all just hanging out together, and I love it. If you enjoyed seeing this stronghold room transform from the traditional stronghold room into a beautiful koi pond with a lotus flower for the portal, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next time where I think I want to get Swift Sneak.